You may not recall the first story ever read to you, but your soul does. Somewhere deep inside, your body still remembers the rhythm of the words, the warmth of the voice, the feeling of being held and seen by your parents. And now, when you read to your own child, that memory stirs and lives again. The act of sitting down, opening a book, and letting your voice carry a story is older than you might think. It predates schools, paper, and everything we now call formal education. Long before classrooms and curriculums, stories were passed down from generation to generation. You've seen glimpses of it in films where families gather around a fire, their voices rising in song, or in ancient books where a grandmother cradles her grandchild and whispers legends of the past. Reading, even before written language, has always been part of who we are. And that tradition continues each time you tuck your child into bed and begin with Once Upon a Time. Back then, children didn't learn from worksheets or screens. They learned through rhythm, repetition, and love. In indigenous nations across the Americas, elders shared oral tales that passed down courage, patience, and respect. In West Africa, griots memorized entire histories and brought them to life with poetry and song. In Japanese homes, grandmothers spoke animal fables that taught empathy and humility. They didn't call it early literacy, but that's exactly what it was. These stories weren't just entertainment. They were maps that guided children on how to think, how to feel, and how to live. They carried the wisdom of generations without a single screen. And today, whether you're reading a silly board book or a worn-out favorite, you're continuing that sacred chain. You're not just helping your child learn to read. You're teaching them to listen, to imagine, and to belong. Modern science now confirms what our ancestors already knew. From birth to age 6, a child's brain develops more rapidly than at any other time in life. Millions of neural connections form each second. Every word, every glance, every sound helps shape their mind, their sense of safety, and their emotional world. And among all the things that influence this development, one of the most powerful is you. Your voice, your lap, your presence. Reading doesn't just build vocabulary. It teaches rhythm, pattern, memory, empathy, and focus. Most importantly, it communicates something no toy or app ever could. I am here. I see you. You matter. Children who are read to daily hear over 1 million more words by the time they turn 5 than those who aren't. That's not just a statistic. It's 1 million extra chances for connection, for learning, for imagination. And when those words are delivered with warmth and love, they become part of your child's internal language, the voice they carry with them for life. Each time you read aloud, you're telling your child, your thoughts matter, your feelings matter, you are safe with me. And while you may not see it right away, those small moments become the bedrock of confidence, communication, and connection. Reading doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't require perfect pacing or the perfect book. Let's explore what it can look like at different stages. With a newborn, reading is less about content and more about rhythm and closeness. Your baby doesn't need to understand the words. They need to hear your voice. They need to see your face. Board books with bold images or simple patterns work well, but honestly, you could read them a grocery list and it would still feed their brain. What matters is that you are there, speaking, holding, being. As your child grows into the toddler years, reading becomes more interactive. They point, they laugh, they repeat. This is when repetition becomes gold. Again, they say, and even if you've read the same page a dozen times, their brain is doing something new each round. Ask them questions. Let them guess what happens next. Let them finish the rhyme. They are not just listening, they are learning how to think. By the time they reach 3 to 6 years old, stories become a language they live in. They memorize entire books. They invent tales of their own. They begin to understand characters and motives. Why did the bear do that? They ask. What happens next? This is the time when reading not only sparks literacy, but deepens empathy. They learn to see the world from another's eyes. Over time, reading becomes a ritual. It is a pause and rhythm that gives structure and warmth to the day. In the middle of the noise of life of chores, errands, the endless to-dos, reading brings you both back to center. When you sit down and open a book, the world quiets. Here's something not often said. Reading doesn't just benefit the child. It transforms the parent too. It slows us down. It teaches us to listen, to breathe, to be present. In those few minutes, nothing else matters. The phone is off. The dishes can wait. There is only your voice and their wonder. Reading also roots your child in something bigger than themselves. It connects them to ancestry, to culture, and to origin. A Caribbean mother singing island folktales. A Syrian grandmother describing the smells of her childhood village. These aren't just stories, they are identity. And even if the story is new, the act is ancient. When you read in your first language or share stories from your roots, you are handing your child a key to belonging. This tradition spans every culture, every corner of the globe. From the Aboriginal Dreamtime stories in Australia to the rhythmic chants of the Maasai in Kenya, storytelling has always been the heartbeat of human connection. It shaped how we understood the stars, the seasons, and ourselves. And now, that same ancient power is in your hands. Some days you may feel too tired. The day may have drained you. But even one page, one short rhyme, one small moment of connection can ripple across their lifetime. The story doesn't have to be profound. What matters is that it's shared. Consider creating a reading nook in your home, a simple corner with a cushion and a few favorite books. Children are drawn to spaces that feel safe and special. Make reading a ritual they look forward to, not a task they must complete. Let them lead. Let them bring the book. Let them flip the pages, even if they don't follow the order. That curiosity is learning in disguise. You might find over time that reading becomes your favorite part of the day too. It becomes the quiet center, the breath before sleep, the safe landing at the end of a long day. And if you find yourself wondering whether it's all sinking in, whether the effort matters, just wait. One day your child will quote a line from a story you read months ago. Or they'll ask for a book you haven't touched in weeks. Or they'll say something unexpectedly kind or wise. And you'll see the story alive in them. Books don't just teach. They become part of who we are. They become how we explain the world, how we cope, how we dream. They also prepare children for the world outside your arms. The language of books becomes the language they use with teachers, with friends, with themselves. Story teaches patience. It teaches how to wait, how to wonder, how to reflect. Story also creates safety. In the pages of a book, a child can explore emotions that might feel too big in real life. They can sit with a fear, with sadness, with joy, and begin to understand it. When a character feels lonely, your child feels less alone. When a character makes a mistake, your child learns that mistakes are part of life. Reading gives children a practice ground for life. A place to try on courage, to practice kindness, to face dragons and return home stronger. In a story, a child is both safe and brave, both still and expanding. And it's not just fiction. Nonfiction books help children connect with the real world. Books about animals, planets, machines, or emotions help build curiosity. They begin to see patterns in nature, roles in society, and possibilities for who they can become. When a child learns from a book that a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, they are learning to believe in transformation. Even poetry matters. The musicality of words, the play of rhythm, the imagery, it awakens something primal. Read a poem aloud to your child and watch their eyes widen at the magic of words that dance. Recite nursery rhymes, invent silly songs, or even write a few lines together. Language becomes a shared art. If you are parenting through stress, grief, or uncertainty, reading is a form of healing for both you and your child. You don't need all the answers. You just need presence. Let the books do the talking. Let the stories do the mending. So if you do one thing today, light just one candle in the busy chaos of parenting and tell a story out loud. Or open a book. Sit close. Let your voice be the calm in their storm. Because that memory will stay forever. Not the noise, not the toys, but your voice, your presence, your love through story. Because these stories we read, they don't end when we close the book. They live on in how our children treat others, how they talk to themselves, and how they show up in the world. And years from now, when they are grown and they reach for a book to read to their own child, it will be your voice they hear in their memory. It will be your story living on. If this video touched you, I invite you to like this video and subscribe to GrasperQuests. It helps more families discover the beauty of reading, connection, and childhood done with intention. And I'd love to hear from you too. What story is your little one loving right now? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Thank you for being here. Let's raise calm minds, strong hearts, and joyful learners. One story at a time.